Welcome to the Nature's Image Farm podcast. We're glad you're here. I'm Greg.
And I'm Susan. And together we're raising 7 kids on the farm and learning life lessons along the way.
So pull up a chair, rest your heels, and let's talk all things bees, homesteading, and the old-time ways.
Let's get after it.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to another Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. If you're listening live with us on the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel, if you're listening to the replay later, or you're checking out the Nature's Image Farm podcast, welcome. We're glad you're here. It's going to be a fun night. Bruce, Brian, how's it going tonight, fellas?
It's going good.
Good. Yeah.
Brian, looks like you've got the toy factory going on in the background there. Mr. Mattel, we're going to have to call you.
That's exactly it. Yes. Yeah. If anybody needs a little plastic toy, I can do it.
That's great. Well, Bruce, Brian, I thought it would be great. We're at the very end of January, and depending on where you are in the country, spring is here, spring is about to be here, or you're wondering how soon before we kick off the bee season. And I think spring is one of those things, ready or not, here it comes. There's been a lot of things going on here locally in Ohio that's really got me excited about the beekeeping season. And I thought it would be a great time to kind of check in with folks all across the country. So tonight, we're going to visit with folks literally from coast to coast. And it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see, where is spring at? Can we find it? Can we chase it? Can we see where it's slowed down? And I think it'll be fun because it'll give folks a little bit of an opportunity to find out, okay, how much time do I have before spring is here, or is it too late? So I know it's the end of January, and typically we're not really thinking necessarily about spring, but maybe we should. So we've got folks tuning in from all over the country tonight to kind of check in, to give us a quick 3 to 5 minute update on where spring is in their neck of the woods.
Awesome.
So I've got a little bit of a cheat sheet here, and it's going to help us kind of just tune in a little bit. Let's see. We've got folks tuning in from all over the country.
Wow.
So it's going to be a lot of fun to. I'm always interested. You know, the beekeeping and the nuts and bolts are great, but you know what? One thing that's a lot of fun to think about is what's on the mind of a beekeeper right now in January. I want to see things through their eyes. What are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are they smelling? Is it beekeeping season here? Is it right around the corner? It's going to be a lot of fun. So what I want to do first is we've got some pretty exciting giveaways tonight as well. Bruce, tell us about some of the giveaways.
Well, one of the ones we're going to do is a respin from last week. Last week, Redfish won the Guardian Bee, I guess you'd call it coupon, so to speak, for $229. But he said he had just purchased some bee gear, so he basically we're going to go ahead and respin that, and we'll give that away to somebody tonight from Guardian Bee Apparel.
Awesome. Brian, we've got another big giveaway to celebrate tonight, don't we?
Yeah, it's not even it's nothing related to the Stream Team, I guess. It is Mr. Well, I can't even say Mr. I got to restart. It is the world famous Mike Berry recently broke 10K.
Wow.
And you know, when you have a title that you're world famous, you don't have time for like those menial tasks, you know, just these little tasks of doing giveaways. So you call people and you're like, hey, I need you to do this for me. And you're going to get that done. That's
awesome. Well, stay tuned tonight, folks. We've got a Guardian jacket giveaway, and we've got the world famous Mike Berry 10,000 sub giveaway, and Brian giving away Queen Right dials to celebrate. That's awesome. So stay tuned tonight, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, what do you say we head on over to sunny California and go visit with Mr. Jacob McBride? Jacob,
Hey
welcome to
guys,
the stream team. How are
thanks
you?
for having me. Good. The sun's not really out now, so the rain has started for the next week and a half or so.
Well, Jacob, tell us about what part of California are you in?
So I'm in a little town called Grass Valley. It's about an hour and a half northeast of Sacramento, about an hour and a half between I-80 and on I-80 between Sac and Tahoe. But so that's kind of our little locale there. Lately, it seems that we've been having storms, and then it rains a little bit and then dries out, which is great for bees. But then they're consuming quite a bit of resources compared to if they were just staying in their winter cluster. But excited for spring. I was in the bee yards working Sunday, and it was 70 degrees, and I had to break out my summer hat.
70 degrees.
I was impressed. I started breaking a sweat. So I'm excited about that. And as I was out there, I was looking, and it's our spring's probably right on par with an average season, because right about now we're looking at the alder tree pollen, and it was blooming in full force down right down below where I'm at. So that kind of is the cue for the bees to start building up and the spring turnover, and then things to come down the road.
That's incredible. So you've got alders blooming. And what was the for your part of the neck of California? For folks who aren't familiar, are you in north, central, or southern Cal?
North. So
North.
Okay. Sierra Nevada mountains.
Okay.
Kind of right in line with the valley there, Yuba City. If you just go 30 minutes over from the valley to the east, that's kind of the area we're in, right in the foothills there.
That's beautiful. So alder kicks off the bees' first pollen. It sounds like.
Yeah.
All right. So then you're on track. So if you're going, let's go all the way to northern California. You're on track for a normal spring. Does it seem wetter or drier than usual?
So it's right about average. So
Okay.
last year was a old normal, which we had snowstorms and that shut down the town, and that kind of postponed our spring a little bit. And so we had to stay on top of the bees and make sure they didn't starve out. And they had plenty of resources to get through those hard times. But this time it's just wet, and then it dries out, which is great. And then the bees get to take their cleansing flights, and then it's raining again. And then after this week and a half, atmospheric system that's coming through, it's going to dry out again up to the 60s from what it forecasted.
Well, we wanted to start the evening off strong, Jacob. So the whole world is listening to your very first forecast on the stream team. Is it too soon to tell, or do you have any idea of what spring may hold for Northern California for the bees?
I have high hopes of what my spring might hold, just as long as you're staying on top of our feeding and making sure that you got good stores to ride out the inclement times. And hopefully there's no late snowstorm or cold snap that kind of snaps our bees, but it kind of stays as it is. We should have a decent spring as the bees start to build up to swarming, and then fun splitting season and queen rearing and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's awesome, Jacob. If folks want to find more about you or what you're doing, can folks find you anywhere?
So I'm on Facebook for Bee's Sake. I also got a website. We're also in the process of switching over the website, but yeah, you can find me here locally, and shoot me an email if you got questions.
Awesome. Well, Jacob, thanks for tuning in from Northern California. Spring has sprung. The bees are busy, and we wish you all the best this year, Jacob.
You too, guys, and thanks
Take
for
care.
having me.
Thanks for joining us. Well, it looks like spring has sprung, and bees are already brooding up in Northern California. that's pretty exciting. I'll be interested to see what the bees do as we kind of move across the country. I'd say, looking at the map here, what were you guys expecting? Northern California to be further along or a little bit further behind?
Well, I know, I know from the almond situation in the past years, from what my experience is kind of on schedule. I know we sent bees to Northern California the last 2 years, and 2 years ago the weather was really good, and last year it was not. So I think he's kind of there in the middle. It sounds like, but I don't know. I really am not sure what to expect out there.
Wow. Well, hey, let's jump over. Let's jump down to Louisiana. For a fella who needs no introduction, we had the great honor and privilege of sitting down with this fella and talked about bees and his walk, his faith, his bees, and we're definitely have to have him back on for a lot longer conversation. But tonight, I wanted to get a 3 to 5 minute insight on the one, the only, Mr. Ed.
There he is. There he is.
Hey, Greg, that was pretty slick. Only 5 minutes. That was slick, Greg. That's like I can barely get 2 sentences out in 5 minutes. You know that, right?
Well, hey, we do our best to keep the train running on time. But hey, anything in the world's possible, especially when we have the great Mr. Ed on.
Please, don't do that. Don't do that.
Jeff, for folks who aren't, folks are very aware of your YouTube channel. If not, tell us a little bit about your bees this time of year, what you're looking at as far as where spring is.
Well, as you were saying, Brian, world famous Mike Barry and I, we always in conversation. And yeah, it's congratulations to him for hitting that 10,000 mark. That's outstanding. Mike and I, along with Joey Rouse and Wreck-It Ralph and Good Time Charlie, we all were in the same bee club. So that's how we know each other. We've been knowing each other for years and years. And so Mike and I, we're like the blackboard. We bouncing off each other all the time, talking about bees. And we go through anxieties together, like last year with the freeze coming so late and messing everything up. It's just like we're a bunch of like little girls, man, just talking bees. And so this year, he's already posted stuff about the bees doing orientation. I saw that on his video, and he and I are the same. So our bees, I was out there today, and they're doing orientation. I had in that one yard right by the honey house, there's about 12 hives right there, and 11 out of 12 of them were doing orientation on them. So
wow,
they're in there brooding out, coming out. Our early brooders, bloomers, are the maple tree, the red maple, silver maple, and the willow. Those typically will start mid-December, end of December, and they were boom right on time this year. Now we had that little cold, really severe cold that came in where our temperatures were down in the teens, 15, 16, and the bees weren't on those blooms because the blooms hadn't opened. But right after that heavy freeze came in, the blooms opened up, and it was still really cold, so the bees weren't on them. But I did see bees on them a week and a half ago. The bees were on the blooms up in the tree, and the blooms are really, really tiny. You have to look for them, but the tree is full of them if you look for them. And there's a couple of them right around the Abbey that I know where they are, and I go looking for them to see how things are going. So we are on schedule. Last year, those same maple trees were blooming beginning of December. December 3rd, I saw bees on them last year. This year, it was about the December the 28th, 29th. It was right after Christmas that I saw the bees on the bloom. So it's pretty on a normal right now. Our rain, we had a system come through last couple of days, and we had weather, but I'm all in favor of early rain. I'm all in favor of that, and I think everything is normal. We moved a couple of hives the other day, and it was it was 11 hives that we moved, and 9 out of 11, they probably were over 120 pounds of weight in them.
Wow.
I mean, they were full of honey. So I'm not worried about any kind of lack of stores in the hives. So I'm looking for just a regular normal everything, and I'm biting at the bit to get in, start making my splits. I've been last 2 weeks. I've been in the peacock room, cleaning up boxes, getting all my equipment ready, ordering frames, and just getting everything ready to get into the spring splits and then into the honey mode.
Well, it sounds like you're on track for last year. We're going to believe that it's going to be a great honey harvest. There's going to be some differences and some changes for you for this year. It's going to have a great honey harvest, but it sounds like spring is right about on track, and the bees are brooding up, and there's pollen and blooms out there.
Yep, and I saw bees coming today. I saw bees coming in with pollen on them. Not a lot, but I did see a few of them come in with pollen on them.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, Mr. Ed, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. There is so much we'd love to talk about. We're going to have you back on. I'm looking forward to seeing you February 10th in St. Louis, Missouri for the East Missouri Beekeepers Association workshop. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Greg, that's going to be a great time. A one-day event, but man, we're going to pack a lot in one day.
I think we're going to have Tom on later from Missouri and get an update there. I wonder if they're close to being sold out already. But
he had told me already that they were sold out, and he was trying to make extra room in there available, but they were sold out. And for a first time going on it, that's a great time to be sold
I might
out.
have insider info there. I believe Tom said they opened up the registration to accommodate for a couple extra folks.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Because he was saying that some of their members in the group would give up their seats so that other people could come in, is what he was
unbelievable. Wow.
That's awesome. Really is.
Well, Mr. Ed, I look forward to speaking along with you in St. Louis here in just about a week or so. So we'll see you shortly, and we'll have to catch up then. Thanks for your spring forecast. We appreciate you.
God bless everybody. Good night.
God bless.
Thank you.
The trouble with having so many awesome folks on is you just want to talk you just can't. You feel like it takes you 7 minutes just to get the conversation warmed up, and then it's time to go.
That's why I got this out. That way, what was the show where you could just give them the hook? What was it? Gong show?
You better be careful with those shrew tools there. You never know who you may hearken.
I'm ready.
Put that down. I don't think anyone's ready for that yet. Well, while we're in this part of the country, what do you say we jump on over to Texas and get one of the friendliest beekeepers I know, the one, the only, Stan Gore. Stan, welcome to the Stream Team chat.
Hey, man, it's so good to see you guys.
Hey, Stan.
You're a handsome lads, I tell you.
Oh,
hey,
stop it. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Thanks for helping me get on the computer, Brian.
Yeah, it's no problem.
And Bruce, I finally figured it out. It takes a while, man. I'm old.
Was it pop-up blocker?
No, I wasn't logging. I didn't copy the link and put it on the Chrome. Yeah, but it worked.
All right. Here you are.
What's going on?
If folks aren't, if no one knows who Stan Gore is, they're not paying attention. Stan's everywhere. Does great work. Texas Friendly Beekeepers on Facebook. Moderates a beautiful group there, and you do a lot for bees. Stan, we thought it would be awesome to check in with you to see where is spring in regard to you in Texas. What are the bees doing, and what is your spring forecast?
Well, I was in them today. You know, I switched all over to Apamase, so I got over 100 Apamase now, and all my wood's gone. And I just put in a 3/4 or a half-acre pond, like 12 foot deep. It's right by the bees, so we're kind of getting the setting right, and no more water in the bees. They're just, the pond's right there. So anyway, as far as what I found out in the hives today, they're just brooding up. We're having 75-degree weeks. I mean, not 2 or 3 days, but a whole week. And so I'm doing some open feeding with the, 1-to-1 sugar water. I'm putting a little bit of I use real pollen. I don't use the sub. I know it's expensive, but I just give them a little bit, just kind of give them that food and that nectar, not nectar, but the sugar water resource there. It really helps them brood up. And I've done this triangular feeding that a friend of mine, we kind of been working on, and he's kind of mastered that, and it's just a great way to get them to. They don't brood up too early. You know, we're in Texas, so it's a little bit different than anywhere else, and it's kind of the same as Mr. Ed a little bit. You know, we've got the elms coming on, a yopon, plum, redbud, cedar, red maples, dandelions. I mean, it's Texas, right? So, but I saw that we are getting some cold weather coming in 2 weeks, so it'll dip down to probably 25 and for a few days and then come back up. It's kind of like you, Bruce, right? Don't you?
Yeah,
You don't
very similar.
much of a winter. Yeah.
Not really, no. We're going to be in the 50s and 60s for the next foreseeable future, next 10 days or so, according to my phone. So we're pretty weather finally. It's been raining and cold, and
Yeah.
now it's going to finally get up to where I can actually get into them more than just a few hours at a time and see what's going on. But
it was a beautiful day today. I mean, it was just so much fun going through the hives, and they're all doing really well, and that's always a blessing there. But you know, a couple of frames of brood, and you see a bunch of bees, and then you see I don't get into them too deep, but I do make sure we're checking the weights and making sure they got plenty, because most bees die of starvation in March. And so, you just got to keep checking that weight, because they can blow through a frame of honey in lickety split time. But
When did spring come for you, Stan?
we usually start splitting around the middle of March. Yeah.
Okay.
Middle of March. So what about you? When do you do splits, Greg?
Yeah, so much depends on the weather, and that's why I wanted to kind of put tonight's show together, because what we're seeing is looks like we're 2 weeks ahead of last year, and last year was 2 weeks ahead of the year before. So there's some indicators ahead that I may be in the worst possible area to keep bees, because it is fluctuating so heavy one way or the other. So I thought it'd be fun to get a lot of folks in from different parts of the country to just give us a quick sneak peek on what's going on. And Stan, it sounds like you're gaining some traction and momentum. You have a couple sheets of brood. It's obviously warm enough to get in there. When was your first bloom? Was it some sort of tree bloom that's already happened, or you're still waiting for it?
Usually the elm pops up, but there's so much stuff in Texas that it's hard to pinpoint anything. People say it's this and that, but I don't know if we really know. But what's really interesting this year? There's a lot of early swarms. I know there's a dozen been reported on the site, and it happened a little bit last year, but this year, and no one really knows, why the heck do they do that? Because there's no way they're going to sustain life. And they're not big swarms; they're kind of little ones. So I don't know if they're someone down the road or in a wild hive, they just something happened. But we're seeing a few of that. I mean, you guys don't have swarms this time of the year, do you?
Oh Lord, no. It's we'll probably March. We'll have some early ones kick out in March, I think.
Yeah. But it's
Brian, probably the same for you in Northern Ohio.
No, if we see anything that time of the year, that would be really, really odd. We don't. It's May before we typically, like Northeast Ohio, before we see any swarms.
Wow.
But usually it's like towards the ending of May, June.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I do a lot of forced abscons, from trees. I already have like a half a dozen that I'm going to get to as soon as it gets. I just don't like doing those in the winter. I mean, it's just not smart, and it's not fair to the bees, and so. But I really love doing that, and that's why I enjoy getting those and then nurturing them, and because I'm not into commercial and I'm not into big honey, but I am into helping people out, getting started in bees, and that's what we do kind of on that page, is just help people out.
Sounds like you found the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Unintended. See what I did there, Stan? I'll be here all night.
Yeah, there you go. I don't have to make money at it. That really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, Stan, where can folks find more about Texas Friendly Beekeepers?
Yeah, just go to the Texas Friendly Beekeeper page. We got like over 10,000 people, and we, it started out real small, but it's, I have a lot of friends, but I have a few enemies, because they don't. they like to do their thing and to pound their chest and all that. But we
Yeah.
don't want to let it. I mean, people don't like that, but it's really cool how people like kindness, and so that's what we're hopefully about, and that's why I love you guys so much, because every one of you kind, friendly people, and you want to help other people out, and that's a beautiful thing. So I thank you all for that. You're an inspiration to many.
Stan,
Thanks,
likewise. We appreciate all you do for the beekeeping community and look forward to seeing you down the road. Thanks for
All
joining
right.
us tonight, Stan.
God bless you guys.
Take care. God bless you.
You stand.
What
So,
cool people.
We
What
started
cool
off in
people.
California. In Northern California, the alders are blooming. The bees are brooding. Stan down in Texas has several frames of brood, and some early swarms are being reported. Mr. Ed over in Louisiana, they're rocking and rolling and starting to build up. And I feel like that's kind of exciting, isn't it? So it's like right now, no matter where you are in the country, you've got the spring season has kind of kicked off. Brian, you had this blue wand looking shrew tool there waving around. I think if you tap your screen 3 times, let's see what happens.
Hang on, let me see.
Right, 1, 2,
3.
3. Look
Oh, hey, oh,
at that.
Wow.
With the magic of live streaming and Fred Dunn, look what we just found. Isn't that amazing? Fred, how are you, sir?
well, thanks for letting me come on. I'm always good. You know, this is late for me, so I stayed up just for you guys because I would do anything you guys need.
Fred, thanks for being awesome.
Thank you. Above average is the goal, so I'll take that. I met it.
Well, Fred, we wanted to talk with folks all across the country and see where spring is, if it's on track, if it's early, if it's late. How does that compare to last year, and kind of what your best guess for spring is for you in your neck of the woods? We've traveled all the way clear up from Texas all the way up to Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Fred,
Yeah,
tell us about where you're at right now with spring.
Okay, well, just so people know, just like you said, it's the Keystone State. You don't get anywhere to the northeastern United States without passing through my state of Pennsylvania. I'm in the northwest part of the state, and I listened to your last talk. What does spring look like? Who can tell? The weather's everywhere. So it's hot, it's cold, it's in the 30s right now. We're getting a lot of rain. We have a 40-inch snow deficit here. That doesn't mean that we have a moisture deficit because it's been raining instead of snowing, so it's nice and wet right now. I like the cold because I want it to knock down our competitive species like the wasps and the small hive beetles and things like that, so it's been a little warm for that. I also heard you ask what time it normally kicks off. I'm guessing March is when I'll be in the wetlands looking at the skunk cabbage. I like that stuff because it melts up right through the snow and ice, and I like to get right in there and video the bees flying into that sauna. A lot of people don't know that skunk cabbage generate their own heat and will melt themselves right up through the snow. And so that's an early marker for me. The other thing is I like to see the pussy willows go into bloom, so Salix discolor. And I planted a bunch of those in a horseshoe shape around my bee yard just so I'll know when they're blooming. And then you can see a lot of pollen coming in. That can happen pretty early. And because of the weird warm-ups we've had, some trees budded early. Huge mistake, because then we got a freeze and it killed the buds. So who knows what's going to happen this spring. But March is pretty much the better get moving month here for us. And the other thing is when the dandelions start blooming, everybody loves that. Crawl around, see the bees on the dandelions. When you see 1 or 2 or 3 of them, you better start checking your beehives, because when the whole field blooms, it's too late. That is my swarm trigger here. So, you know, the weather's just going to be what it is. We can't really look at the calendar anymore. We have to kind of take our cues from nature. So we have to see what's budding, what's blooming. And I can't even listen to my fellow beekeepers around here. I'm 1,300 feet above sea level, but you go 10 miles to the north of me, they're at 500 feet above sea level. Wow. It's an entirely different climate. So you're just going to have to do a lot of hiking around, avoid Bigfoot, make sure to bring your slinger for the shrews in case they show up. I had a close call, but I'm okay.
Way to be, Fred. You know,
Did
I'm
I
glad you
answer?
mentioned something about Bigfoot, because just because you may not believe in him doesn't mean he doesn't believe in you.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
And
Oh,
Hey, Frosty,
is
it's that time of year, isn't it, guys?
he is the hide and seek champion.
I mean,
yeah.
know?
I have Bigfoot scouts that go out. I have my supervisor, 3 grandsons. They all got their Bigfoot forestry patches. They have their I send them out because I like to get them out of the house. I don't know why. They're so much fun to have inside. But anyway, I found out if you give them a uniform and a mission, they'll even go out at night into the woods with flashlights. They won't do that one by one, but also they report on the bees. They have to go check the landing boards. They use that blue hive clean out tool, and they do all that for me now. So life is getting pretty easy around here.
Well, sounds like they've got their hands full chasing the great keystone snipe is also, I think, in your neck of the woods too, is it not?
I don't know anything about snipes. Snipes, by the way, if you're a Navy person, those are the guys that live below decks. Whole snipes, those are your BTs, your machinist mates, the guys that run the plant that never see the light of day and have black, unpolished boots on. I just want to throw in some Navy trivia there in case Senior Chief is watching. So I saw him over there in the port.
Well, Fred, big thing folks should be looking for right now in or around the state of Pennsylvania with their bees.
Right now, make sure that they've got food on, and any warm up that you have, check the landing board, see what the flight patterns are, keep the entrances clean, make sure if there's a snow pile up that whatever is flying looks healthy. If they're tumbling out of the landing board and falling on the ground with their tongue out, you might have a starvation issue, so you better check your fondant or whatever kind of emergency feed you have, because that's your indicator. Listen to them, see where they are in the boxes. Mine are still midway, so I'm looking really good. They haven't moved up through their resources, so they're not into their emergency resources yet too much. So, you know, the tipping of the hive, the listening to the hive, and if you've got the advantage of thermals, make sure to shoot the sides. If they're not insulated hives, it doesn't work on insulated hives, but we'll see kind of where they're brooding now. And they are in a brood buildup. It's small, but, you know, the heat signature on them is not a growing signature, but we know they're alive and that they're placed well.
Excellent. Fred, thanks for being awesome. Everyone, make sure you check out the Way to Be podcast, all of Fred's YouTube channels, fredsfinefowl.com. What else, Fred? Ooh, look at that.
That was it? You told me it had 30 minutes.
Speaking of, and cut. Speaking of shrews, Fred, I have a secret interview with Fred Dunn after a shrew encounter that I am looking forward to finally releasing. So stay tuned for a conversation with Fred Dunn.
I thought that was in the lost data bank.
It did, and it's been recovered.
Wow. Your
To
people
be
are good.
Continued. Fred, thanks for spending some time with us.
Yep. Thanks, Brian, Bruce, Greg. Thanks, man. You guys know I support you all the time, every day.
See you, Fred.
All right. We'll see you.
Take care, Fred.
Yep.
Guys, I'm starting to feel bad because the last thing I like to do is to get great people on and then like, thanks, see you next time. It feels so wrong to have folks on and then, but the idea tonight, if you're just tuning in to the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel live with the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat, if you're listening later on the Nature's Image Farm podcast or the replay tonight, what we'd like to do is travel all across the country to get some insight from beekeepers as to, is spring early? Is it on track? Do you feel like it's behind? What does that mean for your bees? What are you looking at? What are you seeing? It's kind of a, let's use the power of all of us being all over the country and being connected to kind of see, okay, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? It won't be long and we're all going to be full on beekeeping. But so far, if you're just tuning in, we've traveled to California, Texas, Louisiana. We've been up to Pennsylvania. And I think I'd like to, let's go somewhere. So Fred sounds a little cold. It sounds like there's not a lot going on there. He's waiting for some skunk cabbage. But I tell you, let's go a little bit further west. Let's jump over Ohio. Let's go to the great state of Illinois. And let's see what the one and the only David Burns is up to.
Hello, hello.
Look at that.
Got to unmute, David.
Uh-oh.
that your mic got stuck on unmute there, or got stuck on mute. Technology glitches sometimes. Mr. David Burns is over in Illinois, and somehow let's see if we can we unmute him from our side.
I tried. I like the screensaver
And
setup.
look so he can hear us, but we can't hear him. Look at that great setup he's got. There's 3 screens, professional. He's got the microphone. It's late. He's joining us, and the microphone won't click back on. That's okay. Okay, well, how about, you know what? Let's play a fun game of charades, just like in the old day. So, Mr. David Burns Beekeeping, give us a thumbs up if spring is on track. He's thinking, what? We're going to do this? No, I'm going to fix this mic.
He wants to talk.
It's stuck on mute there. Okay, well.
I wonder... David, I wonder if instead of the external, does the laptop have a built-in mic?
All right. Well, this is David Burns Charade Edition. So thumbs up meant spring was on track.
Okay, now I figured.
There he is. There he is. Okay.
There we give it up.
We got him.
All right. Nailed it.
Crazy. Let me go to a different mic.
It's not you, it's me. I take full responsibility for that.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. I was like freaking out. It's like, why won't my mic work? I do this all the time. All right. Can you hear me now?
Broadcast quality. Mr. David Burns.
Yeah.
Welcome to the stream team.
Yeah, good to be here. You're going to be disappointed you came to Illinois. Oh my gosh. It has been so boring and so cold and so winter. I'm molding. We've had nothing but either rain, fog, freezing cold weather. It has just been pitiful. I'm so depressed. Bad.
Wow. Let's turn that frown upside down, David.
I know. It's so boring. And, we live way out in the country around nothing. So, we just look out the window all winter long and kind of say, what's going on out there? Today, guess what we saw? So we're watching, let me back up. A few years ago, we had some squirrels that really love to eat the wiring on our trucks or cars that are parked outside, right? You ever had that happen? Oh my gosh. You take it into the dealership. Hey, my car's not running right. And they find, something ate your wires up. Well, this morning we're looking and there's squirrels coming out of the bottom of my wife's car.
Oh no.
And it was like, so we pushed a little panic button on the key and they go running. But lo and behold, we're sitting here watching, and out from underneath one of our trucks, a bobcat jumped out of one of the bottom of the truck and took off running. A bobcat.
Wow, cool.
And that's what kind of entertainment we have in the wintertime. We just sit and look out the window and watch bobcats try to eat squirrels. And I kind of hate that I scared off the bobcat because I want them to get the squirrels away from my truck. So the bobcat was kind of doing its job, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of boring. And I'll tell you, the bees are the same way. The bees are just hunkered down inside. They have not flown at all. I thought today it was going to warm up a little bit, but it kind of got cloudy, only got about 41 degrees. So no bees are out flying yet. They're just eating through all their winter stores. And I keep feeding them a lot of candy boards, and they're grinding through that man, they're starving out. So, I don't see any signs of spring. None.
No signs. Okay.
Nothing. And
so on track for last year, no signs of spring. What is some of the first early signs you look for to start to get everything ready?
Well, we have a lot of maple trees around our property, and I can start seeing those maple trees swell up and get bigger inside the trees. And that's a pretty good sign that, it's getting kind of warmer outside. But I'll tell you what, I have been fooled before. One year I went crazy. I did all the, analysis. I read Farmer's Almanac's prediction. I listened. I felt like I had a good handle on it. And it was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, but I bought a whole bunch of packages, and I bought them at the end of March, and I arrived home with them, put them out there because the forecasts all look good. I tell you what, the weather turned so cold. I think I lost about half of those packages. April can be a monster cold month for Illinois. So I'm not trusting any signs or anything because we can have good weather, things start blooming and looking good, and all at once, boom, and it just Arctic blast will hit us, and it's not. So I'm just going to sit tight. I like what Brian said. You know what? Mother's Day is about the first day we can finally kind of like, okay, it's over. It's not going to kill our bees now. But until then, it's a roller coaster ride here in Illinois. It really is.
Wow. So, all right. Well, you heard it here first from David Burns, Illinois. Spring is nowhere to be found. Still in the dead of winter, where the most exciting thing going on is watching the bobcat chase the squirrel.
Absolutely. That's all that's going on in Illinois.
Well, David, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. If for folks, if they aren't aware of David Burns and they want to really stay in tune with all things bobcats and squirrels and exciting beekeeping adventures in Illinois, where can they find more David Burns?
Honeybeesonline.com. Just think of honeybeesonline.com.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I appreciate you, Greg and Brian and Bruce. You guys are doing a great job tonight. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, and look forward to what everybody else has to say about spring in their area.
Thanks for joining us tonight, David. We'll see
Bye-bye.
you later. Can you imagine that? Just looking out the window and bobcat jumps out. You're thinking, what in tarnation is that thing?
That's pretty wild.
Brian, do you see many bobcats in your neck of the woods?
No, I mean, like I'll see a fox here and there. Yesterday I did see 2 bald eagles perched in a tree about 150 feet down the road. So I looked, and I mean, it's not hard to miss those things because they are a pretty darn big bird, but I've never seen a bobcat around here.
Bruce, you've seen any exotic animals in your neck of the woods lately?
Not really.
No.
I haven't really. No, sure haven't.
Well, Bruce and Brian, we're gonna get caught up on things in your neck of the woods here as well. We've got folks checking in from all over the country, and what do you say we go a little further west from Illinois, just a little bit over to Missouri, and kind of see what's going on in that neck of the woods. Let's bring on Tom and Melissa Sostman. How's it going, guys?
Good evening. How are you guys?
Pretty good. We just had some folks on. We had Mr. Ed on a little while ago, and I'm sure you can talk about some cool things going on in Missouri. But first, where in the world is spring in Missouri? Is it anywhere in sight?
Well, that's a good question, because if anybody is from the St. Louis area or the Midwest, spring and winter, they're always confused. Neither one of them know whose position they're supposed to be in. One's bouncing into the other one and back and forth, and it's no different this winter. We had a really mild November and December, but then jumping into January and February, it's tend to be pretty cold months for us. January got pretty cold for about 10-ish or so days, maybe short of 2 weeks. And then we recently just popped out of it. Now today it was almost 60 degrees and sunshine after a whole bunch of rain. So, I don't think Mother Nature quite understands how to navigate through the Midwest. She kind of bounces back and forth.
60 degrees. That's probably not the day you stand out in front of the hives and look up with your mouth open, is it?
Probably not. Not unless you're glutton for punishment.
Well, where do you think? Are you on track for where spring usually is, or are you on one side or the other?
Well, again, like I said, because it bounces back and forth so much, we tend to see some cold temperatures, but then we'll have that January thaw. So I suppose you could call that that we're having right now. But I'll tell you right now that I can see all the way out through February 10th. It looks to be in the 40s and 50s. So that's really above average for us, to be honest with you. I'm not a person who really likes the cold weather that much, but I also understand that the seasons are there for a reason. And when we start getting too much out of place, that causes a lot of headaches later on down the road. So as much as this pains to say me, I would like to see a little bit more winter before we get into it, because I don't want my bees running out of food either, just like anybody else here. When it's a little cooler, they tend to be a little more conservative. So we'll see what happens.
And you don't want those trees to start budding, and then we get a snow or a frost in February and everything dies back. So
we actually have a really nice tree here called the black locust, and that can be really sensitive when it comes to temperature, rain, things like that. So we like to see, once it starts to slowly warm up, it kind of stay on that trend and not have those cold snaps pop back in, because that'll kill off that black locust bud for us, or that bloom rather, very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll later we'll talk about Ohio, and that's one of the things on my mind is black locust. And if it hits just right, what a beautiful crop. A lot of times over the last, it seems like it's a one good crop every 5 to 6 years, if you're lucky. And this year is shaping up to be a little concerning as far as what spring is pretending to do. So we thought it would be fun to get folks from all over the country just to kind of chime in a little bit and see where you're at. Tom and Melissa, it sounds like you're the par for the course roller coaster up and down. Who knows where we're at, but we're in the same place as kind of last year. But doesn't really seem like it's kind of taken off too quick. You mentioned 40s and 50s on February 10th. You guys have a special event coming up, the East Missouri Beekeepers Association workshop in the St. Louis, Missouri area. Tom and Melissa, talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Melissa, my wife, and I are part of the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association. Recently took board positions there. Melissa's the vice president. I'm the program director. And we've got a great workshop shaping up on February 10th. I will say on February 9th, though, we're having a Mardi Gras party kind of the evening before, which is going to be a great kind of meet and greet. Vendors can set up. People can kind of, just have some great conversations, some great fellowship. And then the following day, which is only one day, but it's going to be really sweet, we get to jump into our one-day workshop that we've got. And we're pretty excited about it. So you all had talked a little bit. I think Mr. Ed had mentioned, and even Brian said something and kind of help people understand that we were kind of initially sold out. And I kept pushing on Dan Brook, our board president, saying that we can't shut this down. People want to see us. We've got some great
they
speakers.
don't want to see us. They want to see the speakers.
That's right. They want to see Greg Burns. They want to see Mr. Ed. They want to see Nathan from Duck River. They want to see Jennifer and Stanley Evans. Those are the people they want to see, and that's who we want to give them. So
we were able to reconfigure the seating and how we had it set up. So we were able to open up 40 more seats in the experience.
Correct.
And
20 for the beginners.
Yeah, something like that.
So we were able to, and this was just last night that we were able to meet at the facility, reconfigure some things. I even said, hey, I'm glad to give up my seat. I don't need to sit down. I probably won't have a chance to anyway. Give somebody else my spot. There's plenty of people that would love to be here at this event. So ironically enough, again, we said we opened up 20 additional seats for the beginners right now.
So altogether, though, we now have 280 tickets to be sold. But right now there's only 4 beginners spots left and 29 experienced. So even after opening those seats, they're selling fast.
Wow. That's
unfortunately
awesome.
I don't think that I can show enough enthusiasm to our president,
There's no more
Dan
room.
Brook.
There's no more
He's
room.
not going to give me any more rope. This is it. He's not letting me have anything else. So I pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. We went back to the drawing board, refigured some things, got some more slots in. They're selling out fast. And I will say, if there's any spots that are open by Friday at 4, they're going to completely cut it off, because at that point in time, we need to finish up our details. So we're super excited about having you, Greg. Super excited about having, again, the rest of our speakers, Mr. Ed, Nathan from Duck River, and the Evans. Great group of people, great content, great educators, and it's going to be a great time to fellowship.
Well, congratulations to you guys and your Bee Club for putting that together and selling that out. That's an incredible opportunity for folks. Right there, you can see the screen. Check out some more information. We'll drop some links below where you can take a look at, see if you can get one of those last few seats left. But congratulations ahead of time for selling out the next round of tickets. Before we cut you loose, what's your guys' forecast for Missouri beekeepers for the spring? Do you have any info that you can even go on right now? What are you expecting for spring?
We really have to get through February.
Yeah.
You know,
March tends to regulate a little better for us.
Okay.
Once we get past that into February, things become a little more consistent there. And
a
that's
lot of
kinda what we
times
look for.
February is actually our colder, snowier month. So once we get through February, that's kind of like when we know how spring's going to shape up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tom, Melissa, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us tonight. Looking forward to seeing you here February 9th and 10th in Missouri. And thanks a lot. And we'll look forward to checking in with you a little bit later on.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Nice to see you.
See you, Tom.
I feel like we're bouncing here, and we've struck where there's beekeeping season has started in some parts of the country, and other parts where we're just kind of waiting. Bruce, what's going on in Alabama right now? Where are you at with your bees in spring? What does it look like?
Probably very similar to Mr. Ed and Stan Gore. Just got, a lot of my hives, if you watch my recent videos, are just packed out with bees. And it's just kind of cool to see, to go in and when you open that lid and just got bees boiling over the top. So I don't see a lot of things blooming, but I haven't looked that close. Everything still looks pretty winter like here, a lot of brown grass and trees with no leaves on them, but I'm sure the maples will probably bloom during the process now, and some of the same flowers I imagine Mr. Ed and Stan are seeing are out there. I think I have seen some dandelions out there, and they do pop in pretty quick every year. So, and a lot of these blooms are up in the trees. It's more tree type blooms that you see this time of year, and so unless you're out there looking closely, you may miss it. And I think that's kind of the way the red maple is. You got to be paying attention. I haven't really paid that much. It's been raining and cold so much. I haven't just been out in it that much. When I have been out in it working my bees, I've just been trying to check on them and manage the bees, and haven't really looked at the environment that much, what's around me. I've been trying to move fast. And so, but yeah, I would say we're probably right along lines with what Stan and Mr. Ed are experiencing. And Mike Berry, if you watch Mike's videos, he's going through some of the same things as well. We're on a similar latitude, similar climate here in Alabama, Southeast Alabama, I believe.
You get a little worried. You start to get some things that are flirting and kind of jumping the season a little bit, and you worry about you get some cold and wet streaks in here that's going to cause you to have to put a lot of feed to the bees.
Yeah, I think about probably, and this is just, I'm throwing this number out, there's no science behind this, probably about 8 out of every 10 years you have a spring warm up, in winter, like right now, in February, early February. And the idea is hopefully, and there's almost always a cold snap coming at the end of that, whether it be a deep freeze like it was last year, a bitter cold, or just kind of a cool down. There's usually one of those coming. And so that's where the danger lies, because the bees are flying. Everything is happy. Nature is just, you think everything, the bees, as I say, the bees are buzzing, the birds are singing, and everything's happy. And then wham, the winter comes in. There's a little bit of either whether it's strong storms or winter type weather for a few days that can just kind of mess everything up. And so, yeah, you got to watch them this time of the year. And there's also, it almost seems like a little mini dearth to me in February, where things just aren't, you have a little buildup right now, then nothing seems to be blooming there for a couple of weeks. And you just got to kind of pay attention and watch them. And so, yeah, and I've got my fondant ready. I'm prepared to feed if I need to. But honestly, a lot of my colonies right now are just so packed with honey still. It's almost like they're putting something in. Like I was in my last video I put out a couple days ago, I saw some white wax in some of the colonies. So something's coming in. It's kind of strange. It's not a lot. It's not like they're building for a big honey flow, but there's something,
enough nectar coming in.
And it's just so weird how in one area you'll see one thing and just a few miles away is totally different. So, like I'm considering moving the bees, or some of the bees that are struggling in Ozark, down to some of these better areas and giving them some better resources, because a lot of it is a resource situation. Up there in Ozark, there's not a lot of fields around where the wild mustard and things can bloom. And so I may get it in some of these areas that are really just booming, and see if that helps turn them around as well. I'm toying with that idea. If I can find the time to do it. That's an issue with my situation. if we only have a few hours or one day out of two that I can work on these weekends, it's hard to stay caught up with everything. And so, working full time, it makes it a little difficult to try and do some of these extra things I would like to do. And so, but we'll see. We're going to just kind of see what happens coming out of winter here. And I hope continue to have some good, strong colonies. And we'll see what happens.
Bruce, do you feel like you're in that part of the season where it's okay, here we are. Now it's beekeeping season, or is this the beginning to flirt around a little bit?
We are in beekeeping season. I'm hitting them with oxalic acid vapor too, every pretty much once a week, every 5 to 7 days here for a while. It's a good time to do it. And Cameron Jack talked about how if you hit them every 5 to 7 days for 4 treatments, that seems to knock the mites back. And so I'm doing that right now. And I'm going to try to pull off some splits here in a week or two and see what happens. I've got some video will be coming over on that. I've never done it this early. That's not true. I have, and it's risky, but I'm going to try that. So we're going to see what happens. But anyway, I'm just kind of, I would say bee season has started. Bee season has started here right now.
I want to pretend that I'm ready for the season to start. I'm not ready quite yet. There's still some things that we need to wrap up here in the shop. But man, when you talk like that, you're talking about dandelions and white wax.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to go around and pop lids, and I'm going to check and make sure we have bees throughout the colonies. And those that are packed out with bees in both boxes, I'm going to slap another box on there and let the bees start moving up, or I may put the box on the bottom. I'm not sure, but I want the bees to start filling that up so I can pull splits pretty soon. So
yeah,
with the problem I've had up in Ozark with the hive beetles and stuff, I've lost quite a few colonies up there. So I'm hoping to just get these early splits going so I can, have a good honey crop this year. So I've got a plan in place. We're going to work it and see what happens.
Man, do you feel like you're ahead of schedule or on track from last year?
Probably a little ahead of where we were last year because I didn't send my bees off to pollination. See, last year, this time of the year, I had most of my bees were in California, or about probably half of them or so were out there. And so it's different. It's been nice to have bees at home and not have to worry about that. See, that's one thing about it. You talk about the season here, a lot of people have already sent bees off to California. They had to build them up. So they have to be strong to leave. So it's just a little different perspective down here when it comes to it. It's possible to have bees super strong right now, especially if you feed them. And I haven't fed them that much. I haven't needed to in these certain bee yards that are just doing so well. It's been fun.
Well, it's full on. It sounds like in Alabama, whether you've accepted it or not, the beekeeping season has started. And Bruce is digging in. Brian, it's only a matter of a week or two, and we're going to get photos from Bruce and his flip-flops out there in front of his hives. They're all out flying, and he's enjoying the official season. And we'll have some kind of squall that'll come in, or some winter nor'easter, and it'll just absolutely humble us. Just when we are pretending to get excited, we'll be covered in snow or ice, won't we?
Yep. Although I don't think that's going to be the case this year because, I know you watch the weather like I do, but this weekend I just saw on the news today they're calling for 50 and sunny.
It's ridiculous. It's nuts.
So, yeah,
we're gonna get through all of our guests throughout the country, and then we're gonna dig into some more of those details. For now, guys, what do you say? Who's interested in a giveaway?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. Bruce, you want to let it rip with the Guardian?
Sure. Brian, why don't you go ahead and put hashtag Guardian in there, and we're gonna spin the wheel here. But what happened? For those who may not have been on here when we started the chat tonight, last week we spun for a Guardian, a bee jacket. Now what this is $229 worth of like a coupon to Guardian. You can order whatever you want. That is the price of a bee suit at Guardian. But you can use it for whatever you want. And so I have a code that Terry sent me, and it is a unique code that I will send whoever wins this. Please be sure it's someone who is going to use the jacket or who needs the jacket, and we'll go ahead and spin this here in just a minute. It's ramping up real fast, and it's a really good deal. I'm a fan of Guardian. I've worn his pullover jackets now for a while. And Terry's just a good person, and so it's pretty cool that he's willing to support the stream team like this. And Redfish, we appreciate you going ahead and donating this back to us tonight, absolutely, so we can give it to somebody else who you may need it. So we just appreciate both Terry and Redfish for doing that.
Well, Brian, as those hashtags come in, we want to thank Terry, the whole Chapman crew at Guardian Bee Apparel. Just great folks, great products, great customer service. One of the most important things is supporting a community, voting with your wallet when you can, and that makes a big difference. So we appreciate Guardian Bee Apparel and for being a part of tonight's giveaway. While folks are getting their hashtag entries in, I'm going to take a minute to thank some of the folks that help us keep the lights on here. Bohemia Bees, Mr. Jason Crook just gifted 5 Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel memberships. So Jason at Bohemia Bees, thank you for doing that. That's awesome. We're starting to roll out more exclusive content on the members only portion of the YouTube channel. Recently had a little talk in here, and then kind of just went out and walked with Fritz the dog. And just I like to share some of the things that I'm thinking about, or what's maybe on my heart, or what's on my mind. And so we've got some exciting plans, me and Susan both, on what we can do together on the members only side of that. Got to thank Mr. the Dothan Shogun himself, Bruce's Bees. Bruce, thank you for your super chat tonight, and for being a part of the stream team for all these years. It's the kind of thing where we're so much better together, and it's been a lot of fun doing this with all of us together. So thank you for that. Brian, thank you also for the $20 super chat. Appreciate you doing that, for your friendship and for being a part of what makes this stream team great. And also have to give a big shout out to Jose Uribe, California Beekeeper. Thank you for that $20 super chat. We really appreciate it. Jose is in the thick of almond country, and right now he says, showing y'all some love. Atmospheric River has officially touched down. The forklift is bogged down with mud, and we can't move any more bees into the trees. Oh well, hate getting wet and sinking lifts. That's horrible. When you're getting your machine stuck, you get to a point where the machines are making such a mess of the ground. The machines are getting so mucked up, things start to break. It takes bigger equipment to pull that equipment out. Then you get that piece of equipment stuck, and now you need a bigger piece of equipment, bigger than the last one. It's just a wreck. It's just a full-blown farm rodeo, it seems like. So, Jose, hope the season turns around, things dry out, you get the bees in and out, and you've got a fantastic bloom. Thank us again for your super chat. Brian, what do you say? You want to go ahead and spin that wheel?
It's a spinning.
Here it is. And the winner of the Guardian Bee Apparel discount code, Grace Homestead. Come on down. I just like saying that. Grace Homestead, reach out to Bruce.
Yes. And yeah, just reach out to me. Probably easiest thing to do is at my email address. You can go bruce@brucesbees.com or Bruce Jenny, BRUCEJENNE at gmail.com. To get a hold of me and just send me your, just reach out to me and I'll shoot you that code so you can order that apparel.
Awesome. Thanks again, Redfish, for giving up your freebie there. And thanks again to Guardian Bee Apparel. We have a great Mike Berry 10,000 sub giveaway coming up for Queen Wright dials. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. We're going to move across the country here and see if we can't flirt with some more time of the season, maybe a state where there might be some beekeeping going on. It's such a beautiful state. And I tell you, beekeeping has been an enormous opportunity to meet just some amazing people. We say it all the time that bees are the conduit to people. And it has absolutely been an honor to meet so many of you on the road, at conferences, here at the farm. One of the most amazing beekeepers that I've met is one of the most humble fellas that you ever did see. And he was in a bad place in life where he was literally taking his last breath and cried out to God, God, give me the strength to get out of this bed, to get on my own 2 feet. And as he's taking what he felt like was those last breaths, God gave him the strength to do that. And this man one day after the other, 1 foot in front of the other. God gave them and blessed them with bees. And it's an honor to have Mr. Tennessee, Tim McCandless, all the way from the great state of Tennessee. Tim, thanks for joining us tonight.
How y'all doing this evening?
Well, we're doing better than we deserve, just like you, I'm sure.
I want to tell y'all, I've been sitting here listening to this. Brucey's talking about going through that colony of years, that last video. Y'all should have seen the frosting. It looked like a wedding cake on top of this thing. Oh, it's killing me. It was killing me seeing. I was anyway, I could just about smell it on the video. It was, yeah. How y'all doing?
Tim, we're doing good. Tim,
good.
You're just you're down in Culleoka, just south of Nashville. What's going on in your neck of the woods with bees?
Well, I tell you what I'm seeing right now is that we're probably on schedule for an average spring. What it was probably like last season. I'm seeing the purple dead nettles are blooming. I've seen some henbit blooming, some dandelion. I found some dandelions on winter solstice. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow.
But seeing stuff like that around, it's seeing the maple trees are probably going to start blooming in the next 3 or 4 days probably.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah, but it's if you know, you know. I'm riding around going, yeah, it's fixing to be pretty. Yeah. It's looking like it's going to shape up to be a really good season. I got 24 that I've successfully overwintered so far. I had more than that. I lost 22 nukes to another overspray incident, so I'm gonna have to move them completely away from the house here. I can't even keep bees at my house, man. So
yeah, it's not worth the convenience having them there, having the
No,
railroad
man,
come through doing what they do, and there's no accountability, and you're just the guy that is suffering, and that's no way to be, is it?
Yeah. No, man, it was they were my after summer solstice queens. They were my
Oh no.
that was, they got the whole little nuke yard. There's 22 of them it took out, man. It lost every one of them in my backyard. Yeah. So anyway,
well, do you feel like you're on track from last year, or do you feel like you're ahead?
Do I now?
Do you feel like you're on track with last year's weather, or do you feel like your spring's a little further ahead?
You know, I think it's going to be about like it was last time, kind of what it feels like. It's
okay.
We got some stuff that's trying to green up right now. Now I know we liable to get this cold slam come in here and knock everything back. I heard somebody mention it earlier about the black locust. We had that happen to us last year with the black locust. About the time everything got bloomed out just about right, killing frost come through, and we didn't get a drop.
Yep.
So that happens. That's part of the beekeeping. You know, you get some of these flows and you don't some of the others. So
yeah. Well, it sounds like you're all things considered, you've got a good amount of colonies to be working with going into the rest of the spring. It sounds like it's already, I mean, your beekeeping, when you wake up, you don't wake up and say, okay, God, when does the beekeeping season start? It's already started for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I try not to let it stop. It slows down, you know, it slowed way down. People ask me, I said, what do the bees do in the wintertime? I said, same thing their beekeeper does. Lay up and eat what I put up all summer. You know, that's what we do. I haven't been out as much as I should be. I'm gonna be honest with you. I lay in on that cold weather, but the conditions are getting right. Need to be checking hives, tipping hives, checking weights, supplemental feeding. All these things can make sure it can be the difference between having, you know, a box of live bees and a box of dead bees. And I can tell you, I can verify right now, live bees are so much more fun to keep. They really are. They do stuff like they make that frosting like we was talking about on top of Bruce's boxes. Yeah, they make this really cool. They do stuff like that, and the dead ones they just kind of smell the joint up. You know, that's about all they do. But anyway.
Well, Tim, what's one thing you're excited about
I'm
for
excited
2024?
Sir?
What's one thing you're really excited about with your bees for this coming season?
I am my goal. I have a goal. I am going to try to produce queens this season.
All right.
I'm trying to gear up to man, I need to be filling these little boxes of bugs, not the big ones.
Yeah.
So you know, with that said, I've got my own little, you know, I got my own little way of raising queens that I do. Everybody's got their own little thing, right? And so I've got my own little way of queen rearing that I enjoy, and I'm gonna
Folks
try to
can
get
see it
into
on your
raising
YouTube channel as this season may, as things may unfold. Where can folks see all things Tennessee Tim on the YouTube? What's your YouTube channel, Tim?
Man, I had a YouTube channel and I had like 365 subscribers, and lost access to. I can't get the password to work and all this stuff. So I'm locked out of it. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna start another one. I started my YouTube channel for the exact same reason I heard Ian Stepler say he started his, was just to simply keep up with the days of the what did I do on that day? And it was a log that he could go through and use. And it's actually a good tool. So that's what I do mine for. So it's just Tennessee Tim is how I can be found now. It's simple and straightforward. Just Tennessee Tim.
Is there a number after it?
Dude, it might be Tennessee Tim 73. Maybe
That's
that is
it.
right.
Tennessee Tim
That's it.
73.
Tennessee Tim 73. Yeah, y'all go check it out if you would. I want to tell y'all thank you too. I'll tell you a funny story. I had these 14 subscribers and I get this notification on my telephone. It says, you have a new subscriber. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And I looked and I was like, now this is funny. This guy that just subscribed to me, he's got 10,000 subscribers. I know because I watched him do a little giveaway thing. It was Brian from Castle Hives. And I was like, Lord, this has got to be one of the most humblingest things. And then as the day goes on, this happens again and again and again. There was several people that I actually watch their stuff because I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy their content. And these names kept popping up that they were subscribing, and it was one of the most humblingest things. I'm gonna tell you, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So,
Tim, keep up the good work. We really appreciate what you're doing. You've been an inspiration to so many folks. After you go and subscribe to Tennessee Tim 73, and after you watch all of his videos and give him a bunch of comments and show him some love, after, but only after, head back over to the Nature's Image Farm channel and go down and check out 2 videos that we did with Tim. One called Beekeeping Saved My Life. And you'll get a real good understanding of not just the mind of this beekeeper, but the heart of this man. And Tim, we love you to death. You're a beautiful person. We appreciate you sharing your journey with the rest of us. You've been an inspiration to so many folks. And we would just want to tell you to keep up the good work. And we look forward to seeing a lot more of you on the Tennessee Tim 73 YouTube channel in 2024. Tim, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank y'all for having me.
Tim, we'll see you, buddy.
All y'all.
We'll see you. So many good people. You know, that's one of the greatest things about beekeeping. Bees are great and what they provide is great and all that. But I tell you, meeting these kind of folks, calling them friends, they feel like family. It is absolutely an honor. Coming up, we've got the Mike Berry 10,000 subscriber giveaway. That's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. So folks, I'm going to see if I can put this map up here. I mean, this is how high tech we are here. Look at this. We're going all over the place on this map, but let's go. We've been, if you're just tuning in to the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel, if you're listening later to the replay or on the podcast, we first started off in California, but then we went to Texas, Louisiana. We've been to Alabama. We've been to Pennsylvania. We've been to Illinois. We've been to Missouri. We've been to Tennessee. I got to make all my notes here because I'm losing track. We are just cruising across. Next thing you know, we're going to need a DeLorean, Bruce, just to get around here. We've flirted with Ohio. We're going to talk more about Ohio here at the very end. I'd say let's go straight east from Tennessee, Tim. Let's go over to North Carolina. And what I can't wait to finally get over to North Carolina. Man, there's just a beautiful piece of equipment that I just am looking forward to sitting behind just for a minute. But I tell you, there's a great couple in North Carolina, the Spillmans, and I love them to pieces. I love seeing their interaction. They're positive. They're upbeat. They're doing a lot for the community. So it's absolutely an honor to have the one and only Keith Spillman from Half Tracks and Honeybees. Keith, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you guys. This is great. I appreciate you inviting me on.
You bet. Tell us where you're at in North Carolina and what spring is looking like.
We're kind of located in what I call the eastern foothills. North Carolina is kind of strange. We got the mountains, the Piedmont, and the coast. So by no means am I speaking for the whole state, but I'm kind of between Winston-Salem and Wilkesboro, Junior Johnson's old stomping grounds. So I call it the eastern foothills. Right now, we're a little bit behind where we were last year at this time. Last year we were a couple of weeks ahead. Right now, the red maples, they're budded, but they're not close to blooming. The daffodils, I go by them a lot. Last year, by the 10th of February, they were blooming, and right now they're only a couple, 3 inches high coming out of the leaves. So we might be more normal than we're used to. It's hard to say what normal is anymore.
Yeah.
But we're definitely behind last year. So I don't know that that's a bad thing, but that's kind of where we're at.
Interesting. So you feel like you're behind in Tennessee. Bruce in North Carolina, you're behind. Tennessee feels like on track. Just south in Alabama is right about on course. What are some things that you're looking for to really say, okay, the season is on, here we go?
Hey Keith, we're getting a little bit of an echo. Could you mute YouTube? I think. Just on your computer or phone.
Yeah, now I'm a rookie at this.
Just
or you can just close the YouTube channel altogether. Leave StreamYard. Just close.
Oh, okay. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm a rookie at this. This is my first live. So, I guess mainly what I'm looking for, like you say, once the red maples pop, the sugar maples, the dandelions, that's the first sign of the pollen that we have around here. The nectar really don't get going until April with the blackberries and my favorite tree, the tulip poplars. That's the money tree, I think, for beekeepers around this area. The thousands of tulip poplars we have with the flower gardens in the sky. So, now back up on a little bit what I said. I said we're a couple of weeks slower than last year, but maybe that's just normal. Maybe last year was probably a weird year, so maybe we're just back to normal now. So it's hard to say what normal is anymore.
Well, that's a good point. What's your big spring forecast for North Carolina for the bees?
I think it's looking good. Lord knows we've had enough water over the winter. I think we've had something over a foot of rain since early December. So water's not a problem. I think as long as we can cruise on through, the temps start slowly warming up, and we don't have any big freezes, which we know from what happened down around Mike Berry's area what that can do to you. So we definitely don't want that. So I think as long as we don't have any surprise freezes, I think we're looking at a good year.
Keith, where can folks find more about your beekeeping and the adventures that you and Bertha and everyone get into there at Half Tracks and Honeybees?
I guess the YouTube channel is the best spot. I mean, on Facebook, I'm just listed Keith Spillman, but of course YouTube is Half Tracks and Honeybees, and y'all can tune in and see my craziness. A lot of shorts, a lot of videos. We have a good time. Me and Blue and Bertha and the creek in the woods, and I'm retired now, so I'm just having fun. So y'all just join in.
Keith, thanks for joining us tonight and giving us some insight to what's going on in North Carolina. We appreciate you and wish you all the best for 2024.
Thanks, guys. Y'all come down and we'll take a ride.
You betcha. We'll hold you to it. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Every time I pass through North Carolina, I'm thinking, oh man, I just want to stop and get behind the Half Tracks, and just what a cool piece of equipment there. So if you don't know what that is, what we're talking about, be sure to go check out the Half Tracks and Honeybees YouTube channel. You'll be glad you did. I feel like the theme is it's almost feels like Groundhog Day, doesn't it? It feels like, okay, we're going to let the groundhog out and see, is he going to see a shadow? What I'm hearing, what are you guys hearing so far? Bruce, when you were hearing everyone kind of chime in, are you getting an overall sense yet, or are we putting together some kind of a picture for you in your mind as far as what the season looks like across the country?
I think I'm getting the same thing as every year. As you know, really don't know. I think it's probably on track for most people for what is quote unquote normal. But normal in some parts of the country, there isn't a normal, and so it's and down here it feels like a pretty normal year. But last year it felt pretty normal too, and then we had a cold snap late. So I think down here we're pretty much on track. But it sounds like folks are kind of where they expect to be. But it's just let's just got to see what happens, because Mother Nature in the springtime, she can be kind of crazy.
That's what it seems like. It'll be fun to see what everyone else chimes in. I'm starting to see a little bit of this picture of what's going on. Before I get the cart before the horse, we'll tune in with everybody. But speaking of Groundhog Day, let's shoot over. Let's head over. We just came from North Carolina. Let's go up a couple states to the shores of Maryland, and let's check in with the one and only Groundhog. There he is. There he is. Jason Crook, Bohemia Bees.
Punxsutawney Crook.
I can see him doing that.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Couldn't you see Jason holding the groundhog up there? I could see him. I
totally could.
I totally could see him.
Look at that. Well done.
He lured him in with one of these.
I did.
He's like, it was come here, little groundhog. Come here, little groundhog. Come here. Come here.
Look at that. Jason, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks again for the channel membership. So that's so awesome. We appreciate you doing that. We've all been enjoying seeing Queen Right Dial take off and explode, and it won't be long, and it'll be that piece of equipment that everybody knows about, and that's pretty exciting. What's been the Queen Right Dial aftermath with the Bee Expo? How's that been for you guys?
Crazy. I'll tell you, Brian and I probably spent I think our wives are starting to think that we're having like some sort of beekeeping affair, because we're spending like 5 hours a day on the phone talking and just trying to work out the details. We've got a lot of support. So we wouldn't have been able to do it without this community. I'll tell you that, first and foremost. I mean, we had an idea, and we brought it to execution, and the community embraced it, and it went well. It's gone well. It's going to be a long road ahead of us. Brian and I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things to continue to keep growing it and making it valuable. So that's the plan, at least. We'll see how it turns out. Just appreciate everyone's support though on it.
You betcha. We're all excited for you, and sure are proud of what you guys have put together, and see where that goes. Jason, for folks who aren't aware of your location, you're in the Maryland area. Can you talk to us about where spring is, as far as, is it early? Is it on track? Is it too early to tell? Talk to us about what the season's shaping like for you.
Sure. And I won't really know till, I guess, tomorrow, Friday. I think Friday when he comes out and tells us what to do. So when he does that, then I'll know for sure. But now in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, it's kind of a neat location because we're surrounded by water. Most don't realize we're technically an island if you think of the canal that cuts off the Delaware, Maryland peninsula. But it is kind of nice. We get a lot of moisture, unfortunately or fortunately, at different parts of the year. We've had a fairly wet winter, a cold winter. We haven't had a lot of snow in the last few years, and we've had a ton of it so far. Well, I say ton loosely because any more than a foot or any more than 5 inches for me is considered a ton because I just don't like snow. But we just got through that, and now we're just hopeful that what I just heard from Keith down at Hive Tracks and Honeybees in North Carolina, that's kind of just below us. So he said the red buds were starting to bud. So that's awesome, right? Because that's what we look for, the red buds and maples and willows. There, when they start to bud and bloom here in the spring, our bees will pick up that pollen early and start to kind of build up. But that's what we're seeing. We're hopeful. We're hopeful that it's going to be an early spring. We were supering up in the second week of March last year, and so I'm hoping for that again, so I can start making splits and supering up.
So supering up in the second week of March means that you've had some brood explosion early February, late January.
Yeah. Yep. And that was last year. I don't know about this year. I haven't been too deep in them. I don't like to crack hives. I feel that, there's a point when there's a little risk. I'll still treat, and I'll still probably mid-February, maybe a couple weeks ago, out and actually crack the lids. I mean, I lift the lids. I use a lot of screen inner covers, as you saw in maybe my recent video. So those are very helpful to just do a quick peek under the lid. I don't have to crack the inner cover, which creates that propolis envelope seal, which is helpful as you have been talking about with the propolis hive and things like that. So it's nice to be able to kind of peek down, see a large volume of bees on those frames, and realize that pick the back of the hive up and they still have some weight to them. So I know we're in clear there, but it's not going to be, as I think someone said earlier, and we all preach, it's not going to be very long before they start going through those resources. It starts to warm up, the brood starts to hatch out and emerge, and next thing you know, you go from a very heavy hive to a very light hive very quickly, and then they become opportunistic. And if they go on a warm day, they could go out and start robbing out hives nearby, and it just becomes a flurry of sort of kind of keeping up on everything, and that's what you have to watch when you get to that point.
How long before you think you've got full dig and full brood inspections?
I would say here, I really don't do pull frames until late February, beginning of March. And that's really depends on the weather. If Punxsutawney Phil behind me thinks that we're going to be, a lot longer, and we start seeing snowstorm after snowstorm like we did, 5-6 years ago, then it'll be later. But the last 2 or 3 years, by the time I get the end of February, beginning of March, I'm thinking about cracking those inner covers and pulling a frame or two on the outside, seeing where the volume of bees are at. And if they're brooding up, then, make the plan for that hive. And, as we all know, bees, they make the plan. We just kind of follow along. So it's really up to what I see, and I react to each hive differently. There's no prescription for the whole apiary.
Well, Jason, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you and Punxsutawney just to make sure he doesn't get the wrong idea. Because if he does get the wrong idea, our pal Tennessee Tim has a great barbecue groundhog recipe.
There we go. And I'm hiding his eyes because I do not want him to see a shadow. Because nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing the whole 6 weeks.
What he doesn't know is that he's right next to someone who has a blue ribbon barbecue sauce. I mean, come on now, watch out now.
I know. That's
Jason,
right.
thanks for joining us tonight. If folks want to find more about your adventures in beekeeping and Queen Right Dial, where can they find you?
You can follow Bohemia Bees over at Bohemia Bees on really any social media platform, bohemiabees.com, or on TikTok, or Facebook, or YouTube. And then if you're going to find more information you can go to queenrightdial.com, and we have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel now. It's not really large, but it gets the information out that people need, that they're asking the questions on. So we're hopefully we can kind of get some of those answered. But Brian's been a big help. We're trying to get the storefront open. We've been working on that the last couple of days, trying to get that squared away. And we got some cool things coming up with the Queen Right Dial. I know that Brian may mention or may already have. I wasn't on earlier. We have a lot of cool things coming in.
Brian, did you just sneak peek something? What in the world's going on here? Oh, wow. Look at that. Well, Jason, thanks again. We'll look forward to seeing you a little bit later and seeing all the brand new Queen Right Dial stuff that Brian is secretly, but yet not secretly releasing live. We'll see you. Thanks,
good.
Jason.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity to come on chat.
Yes, sir. Thanks
You
for joining
betcha.
us, man. Bye-bye.
I've got to say, I love when we can pop so many people on. I hate that we have to pop them on and pop. I hate that short amount of time that we get with each person, but it's also fun to get so many great people in and a part of this community and kind of into the fold. So that's awesome too. We have got a great giveaway at Mike Berry 10,000 subscriber giveaway coming up. Bruce, we've been to California, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Illinois. Let's say we go a little west, maybe to the Rocky Mountain area, and let's check in a different time zone altogether. Let's go back all the way west and see what is going on in the Colorado area. It's an honor to bring on the one and only Brian from Flower Street Farms. Brian, welcome to the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat.
There he is.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
What part of Colorado are you in?
Yeah, so I live in Lakewood, Colorado. It's the Denver metro area, so the western side of Denver, basically. We're right up alongside the Front Range Mountains of Colorado. Yeah, that's it.
Well, where do you feel like you are with, I mean, of course, with the mountains and everything kind of buffering all that, do you feel like you're on track for spring as it was last year, or are you ahead or behind?
Yeah, I'm going to be humble enough to not predict what the weather is going to do, because I know that whatever intentions you make with the weather, that can definitely take over you for sure. I would say, listening to a lot of people's description of their winter and where they're at right now, I would say where we're at here is pretty similar to Tom and Melissa in the St. Louis area. It's been a pretty mild winter. We had that one big Arctic blast. We usually get a couple, so I anticipate another one or two of those, but it's been pretty mild. So this past week has been in the upper 50s, low 60s, going around hefting my hives, adding food for anything that's light, that kind of thing. So yeah, I could say it's going to be an early spring, but once again, that spring storm can often hit you back hard, and take a lot of that spring nectar away from you.
With temperatures in the 50s and 60s, if you get, at least here in Ohio, if we get 3 days of 50 and that surface of that soil warms up to 50 degrees, sometimes we get little premature early blooms. Do you guys, have you seen anything yet that's kind of bloomed early or quickly?
Yeah, we've got a maple across the street. It's one of our indicators for that first pollen of the season. It's got big buds on it, but it hasn't popped yet. This time of the year, you'll always see green stuff underneath the leaves if you push stuff aside. So I see that a little bit, but not too much. It looks like it could be a week or two early, but again, it's hard to say.
Well, Brian, it was great getting a chance to meet you in person at the Bee Expo. What's something that you're really looking forward to for 2024?
Got a lot of big plans this year. Doing some queen breeding kind of stuff this year, so I'm gonna focus on that. Kind of building my skill set around that part of the business. So got a lot of big plans around that.
Awesome. Well, where can folks find more about Flower Stream Farm Bees?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, but I don't do that much, at Flower Street Farm Bees.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thanks for checking in from
thanks for having
Colorado.
me.
We enjoyed having you on, and wish you all the best for 2024.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You betcha.
Brian, I'll see you, buddy.
Take care, man.
I don't know what I was expecting for Colorado. I don't know that I was expecting it to be as close to Missouri, but it's one of the things where the weather, it's not that you never get a grip or a handle or get it lassoed or reined in, but you just try to get some kind of idea of what is it doing or what is it not doing. And there's a lot of old timers have metrics and things that they look for. Never a calendar, but little things that pop up throughout the season. I know Bruce and Brian, we've in our own areas, we may have something similar, but so far what I'm hearing is there's a lot of inconsistency with kind of where spring is, even as compared to last year. And what I keep hearing is everyone's comparing this year and saying, well, it might be normal or on track, but that was compared to last year, and there wasn't anything normal about last year. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I might be more confused now than before when I got started. I don't know what that means for spring planning. What do you think, Bruce?
I say the question is, you have to define what normal is.
How can you? Can you? I mean, can we
When
even
it
do
comes
that?
to weather, I mean, there are certain patterns of things that happen. Kind of like I mentioned before, here we usually have some cold weather. Then about now it starts warming up for a few weeks, and then we have a little cold snap. And sometimes that cold snap is more brutal than other years. Occasionally we'll have a year where we don't have that cold snap. We just go right into spring. But I'm anticipating, a couple of weeks of pretty mild weather, and then maybe a couple of weeks of some pretty chilly weather, and then by late March, mid to late March, it'll probably be warmed up for spring here. So that's kind of what our normal pattern is. But then I think here it is somewhat inconsistent. But here you have more the extremes of the temperatures, what the difference is lots of times, as opposed to actually the order of things. I know, obviously it does vary some, but in spring it's just, I think it's kind of an unpredictable thing wherever you are. I don't think spring is really, it's just kind of, that's the nature of the beast, so to speak, I think.
Yeah. But we'll talk about it here towards the end on kind of what I'm looking for, what I'm seeing, and historically what that's meant. If there's anything predictable, it is that the season's unpredictable. However, the trees and the birds and the frogs and some of the flowers, they don't lie. When the conditions are met, they move on and they go into that next season of life. And that is one thing that doesn't change. So we'll talk.
As do the bees. I mean, the bees recognize certain indicators in and nature, and then they build up. One way to, I think, tell what's going on is to see what the bees are doing. If they're starting to really build up and lay brood and starting to grow and put in some white wax, there's something going on somewhere, because they can't do that without nature doing its thing. And so, you look at the flowers and stuff, but you also can tell some things that are going on by looking at the bees. You can tell by their attitude and by what their activities are. So, they're in perfect tune with nature, and sometimes it comes back to nip the bees and the beekeeper a little bit in the tail if you have that uncharacteristic snap or whatever. It gets colder than usual or hotter than usual at a weird time, but usually the bees are pretty much in tune with what's going on, probably better than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, what do you say? Mike Berry, the world famous Mike Berry, is known for not only Mike Berry's best honey, but what a great guy and a great YouTube channel. I know I've enjoyed kind of seeing what he does. Mike just hit a huge milestone and reached 10,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. Mike, that's awesome. Congratulations. What a big deal. For folks who may or may not have a YouTube channel, you talk about dedication and just, it's a lot of work to get videos out and to edit them and to humbly share your experience. And Mike has done a phenomenal job of that. So, Mike, it's an honor to call you a friend. We're really happy and excited for you. And tonight, to celebrate Mike Berry's 10,000 subscriber, we want to give away, Brian, what are we giving away?
He's going to do a 5-pack of the dual dials. So, and these were just released at the
Expo.
I'll get it right. The Expo. I was going to say NABI, but I didn't want to say NABI. And then I was going to say the North American Honeybee Expo. That's
You should say NABI. Just say NABI, 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 because Cayman loves it when you call it the NABI. So it's the NABI, right?
But yeah, you'll get a 5-pack of these. So we're all excited about that because, yeah, I mean, I think this year is going to be a great year for these here. So toss in hashtag SDWT for your
Explain that, Brian.
So Mike Berry, being Mike Berry, placed a comment into chat right around the same time that a person named Silver Diamond White Trash put something that needed blocked into chat. So instead of me blocking Silver Diamond White Trash, I blocked Mike Berry. So, and now he's known as SDWT, and he even has a hat to prove that he is SDWT. So,
courtesy of
Mike
Brian
is
Lee.
lucky you caught that, because when all the folks that are doing live channels and live streaming, you've got all kinds of different bots and softwares that are constantly they're there and in place to catch the profanities, and these kind of platforms are just ripe for all kinds of spamming and trolling and you name it. So there are little safety measures in place to catch that kind of stuff. Sometimes you don't even know what it is, and it automatically kicks somebody out, automatically blocks somebody. You just have no idea. So Mike is lucky that you even caught that and were able to figure out you hit the wrong person. So it is what it is, I guess. But hashtag SDWT. Mike Berry here writes in, huge thank you for all your support, folks. The channel's success is all due to your faithful support. Mike, we really appreciate you, and keep up the good work.
Such
What
a
an
great guy.
awesome accomplishment.
Oh,
So
yeah.
hashtag SDWT for your chance to win the 5-pack of dual Queen Right dials. And I think Mrs. Burns is listening, Susie. That's just the right shape and size. So go ahead and put us in for one too. We give it to one of the kids for Christmas. What do you say, Brian? How many? Let her roll.
Yeah, it was up to 135 there. So,
and the winner is Rob B's Apiary.
Okay.
Way to go. Congratulations. You're the brand new winner of a 5-pack Queen Right Dial Dual Edition in honor of Mike Berry's 10,000 subscriber. Awesome.
Send me an email, and I will get you connected with Mike Berry, and we'll make that happen. So congrats again.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, tonight, if you're just tuning in to the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel, to the spring forecast, we are taking a trip all across the country, tuning in from beekeepers from all over to give us their insight as to where they are with spring. Is it here? Has it been there? Is it yet to come? Is it nowhere in sight? We've been literally coast to coast. And when I think of spring forecasts, some of the things that I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of palm trees and flip-flops, and you're just living life, 80-degree days. You know where the first place that I think of when I think of, where I really have got to know? I think of Canada. So let's bring on the one and the only Brad from the Bee Man of Faith Apiaries. Brad, thanks for joining the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. How are you?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for inviting me on, guys. I really appreciate that. I'm doing good. I'm real excited to get back to work, actually.
What tell us about Canada is like a giant place. It's like, whereabouts in Canada are you? And for folks who are geographically challenged, in relationship to what US state, if you want a straight line up, would you be found?
Hey, boss. Okay, if you look at the map and you look at Minnesota and North Dakota, you look at the border there, you go straight north of that border. That's where I am. Actually, that border is the Red River, and the Red River runs just a few miles from my house. So
wow.
That's where I am. Yeah.
Beautiful. What
and
does
I'm just 50 miles for no, I'm not 50 miles. I'm 89 miles north of that border. I know that. So that puts me right in the center, the geographic center, east to west in Canada. So we're sometimes they say we're in the heart of the continent.
Wow. What do things look like right now in the bee yard? Covered in snow, covered in mud. What's it looking like?
That's what the bee yard looks like right now, right there. It's not quite that much snow. This isn't a current picture; it's just a pretty one.
Wow.
But my bee yard is probably got a foot of snow right now. My bees, I winter indoors, so there's really just stacks of equipment waiting for summer in the bee yard, and then a bee barn full of hopefully live bee colonies.
So you probably, with snow on the ground, it's not like you've had enough of that thaw and then enough, see, at least here, for us, at like 50-degree Fahrenheit days, we get 3 or 4 of those in a row, things start to wake up, and then you start to get excited, and then one thing is a sequence to the next. With a foot of snow, I mean, you're probably a little off from seeing it. But what are some natural indicators that you look to, if you do, as to whether spring is coming and how far off she is?
Well, first I'll tell you, you're not far off from like that's a good a synopsis of what I would normally be seeing here. But we have this phenomenon about the third week in January, and sometimes it's a little off. We call it the January thaw, and it happens more often than not. About the third week of January or so, we'll get very warm temperatures. The snow will start melting. It turns into a real mess here. And that's today. You said 50F. Well, today it was 50F here.
Wow.
And the snow is melting, and the bee barn fan is going overtime to keep the barn cool. It is absolutely beautiful, beautiful day here. Now, that can cause a problem because our winters are very long, and we need to keep the bees dormant. And when it gets that warm outside, the outdoor wintered bees then start to wake up a little bit, especially if they're in the sun, because 50F in a bright sun, that gets a lot hotter than 50F. And the indoor bees, if the building doesn't stay cool, then they start to get a little restless. So they're in the dark, so they don't have that solar gain to wake them up, which is good. My barn has actually been going pretty good. It's only got about 40. I'm doing conversions in my head here because I want to talk
You're smarter
Celsius.
than us.
So we're running about 45F, which I target about 40F for my bee barn. So it only went about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, my gut says we're going to have a bit of an early spring, or as I put it, an early move out, because we're always looking for that climate to move the bees out from the barn into the apiary. And that's a problem because we don't wrap the bees in the barn, so we have to make sure that the temperatures aren't too desperately cold for them once they move outside. And bees can actually tolerate some pretty cold temperatures, I'll tell you that. Cues, what do I watch for cues? Well, move the bees out, start. We don't have, I feel like I'm being left behind all the time with you guys. Every spring, you start talking about spring in February, and it's like, we got 2 more months of winter, that time. My latest move out has been the second week in April. I think that was last year. My earliest move out, I think, was the second week in March, which is a very early move out. So, normal is somewhere in the middle there, about the last week, third of last week in March. The cues that I look for, the first pollen, the trees, and I'm learning a lot about you beekeepers down south, and I think winter is way easier for me than it is for you, even though it's warm or long here. I'll put dry pollen sub out in my apiary just so that I can watch it. Like, it benefits the bees, but mostly so I can watch it. And when the bees start ignoring that, then I know the trees have come out with some pollen. Because that's a light switch change right there. Because I'm not climbing around the trees very often and testing to see if there's pollen. So so I can see that. And that doesn't happen until April. And then our first nectar is dandelions, which is late May. So it's a long haul yet. And we're not pulling frames until early May. We're managing the box. And then in May, we start to manage the frames.
Interesting. Yeah. So do you here, we'll talk about it here a little later. We've got some cues and some indicators. Bruce is, I feel like when we ask Bruce, Bruce is less worried about when spring comes because it never really went away. It just took
Right.
a little nap and then it woke up and then you get there. But for me and Brian, we're nowhere near your climate and cold and inches of snowfall. But we have all 4 seasons. And primarily spring is usually very wet and fall is very wet. The winter is now becoming nearly mud season where I really wish we would have actually, on a farm, as you know, Brad, it's the worst to be in that time period where it's raining because tractors are getting stuck. You can't get anywhere. Your driveways are a mess. Everything is you want the ground to freeze over so you can get anywhere. You can still do the things. And we're just not seeing that hardly anymore. We've had maybe 10 to 14 days this year, which was a huge blessing, which was more than we had last year. But we see some things here, and you'd be perfect to ask this. Here at home, I know the season is officially over when I see the Canadian geese fly south. When they fly over the farm and they head south, it's done. And every year it's like that. Now, the last week they're flying north. Do you see that too?
Those Canada geese, they I think they have an effect on the weather because if they fly away, it gets cold really early. Like really, that's my little joke, right? That the geese actually make it warm because if once they leave, then the weather gets cold. I mean they obviously migrate over a period of time. They don't migrate from south to north in a couple of days. They migrate over months. They just follow the availability of the feed, right? So obviously then they're a really good indication of what's going on here, everywhere for you and for me. But and I hear you about the mud. It's usually I can get out there before the thaw. So you see all these white stuff sitting here. That's equal to about probably 10 inches of rain. So in the spring, when it starts to get warm, then boom, you get a bunch of rain, and then everything turns to mud. So the trick is to get that before the ground thaws and get the bees moved out, because then the tractor starts to get stuck and everything, as you know. So it's a bit tricky. You want to wait for the warm weather, but you want to do it earlier than later so you can take advantage of that frozen ground.
It is like Christmas time though when it does melt because there's the chains you lost and there's that socket set that you were working on that thing that you forgot about.
It does.
There's all these treasures that come out of nowhere in
all
there.
the stuff I own. That's exactly what it is. And in the fall, it's snow. So in the fall, I'm doing my cleanup. It takes a long time. You do your cleanup in the fall because you've got to memorize where everything is, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'll be slamming into that with a snowblower or something, and then you've got big problems.
Yeah, exactly.
A bunch of stuff.
Well, Brad, it sounds like spring is nowhere to be found. When it does come, it's just fast and furious, and it's through a muddy, soppy season first, and then tree pollens kick in. The bees start to kind of do their thing, and you're off to the races. What here at home, we get many rounds of queens in, and we start grafting. Easter is the moving target, but somewhere in that second to third week in April, we can start grafting typically. When do you start grafting on average in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, that's a good question. The cue that I've been taught to wait for is walking drones.
Mm-hmm.
So until I see the walking drones, I shouldn't graft because they're not going to be mature enough when my queens need to mate. And that's going to be the early times that I'm going to see walking drones are early May.
Okay.
Really early season, late April. So it's going to be a while yet.
Interesting.
For that, yeah.
So you're probably 2 to 4 weeks behind us in Ohio. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we're behind everybody.
Well, the
Everybody
good news
gets their
is,
bees
Brad,
out.
is you'll get to see all of us bragging that we're out here working bees.
Yeah.
And now then you'll know, well, you've got 2 to 4 weeks still to catch up on on all your TV shows and everything else, and finally
Yeah, that's
start the
it.
season
TV
off.
shows. I watch
Yeah,
TV all
'cause
winter.
we all know that's exactly what you do when you're not doing bees is resting. No farmer does, it seems, do they?
I'm slaving away in the wood shop for months
Yeah.
before the bees come out, and hopefully get my work done before the bees start taking my attention.
Well,
But
Brad, you've got a great
this
YouTube
weather.
channel. What's
Oh,
something you're
thank you.
looking forward to sharing with your audience in 2024?
Yeah, well, it's looking like I'm going to get to share another rebuild. I got struck with some amatraz resistant mites last summer,
Oh.
so it's going to be a rough winter, I think, for me again. But a lot more grafting, nuke making, and rebuilding in that respect, and learning new tricks. I haven't really employed formic acid in my apiary very much, and I want to learn that because I think it's a very effective treatment, and one that I have to move to because amatraz is a done deal for me. No more amatraz for me. So that's one of the things. Overall, moving toward making more nukes each year, and of course continuing to refine my queen raising, my grafting, etc. And when I say that, I've been practicing it enough to kind of have a pretty good idea how to do it. The thing I need to do, because I'm one person running 100, 150, 200 colonies, the things I have to really fine tune are how do I get all that work done by myself, right? And I went through last year, and I mean, Bruce knows, I look at you, Bruce, and all you guys that have day jobs, and I think, I don't know, you guys are crazy. I don't know how you do it with a day job and running all those colonies. That's nutty because I can hardly keep up, and I don't. This is my job, right? This is it. So that's one of the things that I have, but that's a really interesting challenge to think about those processes and say, where can I cut a corner without cutting a corner? Where can I save time without compromising the product? And so I think there's a lot of advancement I can make in that to do what I'm doing with a little less effort, a little less time involved, and I'm not that young, so I kind of need that. Every year I'm older too. Can you imagine that?
How does that work? I mean, what's going
Yeah,
on here?
and the years are shorter too. I don't know
It seems like it,
how that
yeah.
happens.
I understand that completely. I feel the same way. Every year feels different. It honestly does. It feels a little tough, a little harder.
And as far as a beekeeper, I'm a baby. This is season 9 for me. I
Yeah,
haven't been doing it very long, but when I think 9 years I've been doing this, it seems like about 3,
yeah.
maybe. You know, so those are some of my challenges and what I hope to bring onto the channel, and some of those things that I need to attain this summer.
That's awesome. When it's as you talk about that, when certain things like beekeeping, if you're in your 9th or even your 10th season, you've only had 9 or 10 opportunities to overwinter.
Exactly.
And truth be told, of
Exactly.
the 9 or 10, there maybe was 1 or 2 that were really decent. That you said, I had 60% of this thing maybe figured out. And that's humbling to think about because, even after your 20 or 30th season, you've only still done something 20 or 30 times. That is not
Yeah.
a lot, but we get older and our abilities may change, our context, our scales all may change. But that's quite a humbling thing to think about that even
Try
10
to
years or
try to
20
learn to
years
play a
in.
violin and only go to play in an orchestra, and you've only touched the thing 10 times. You think, okay.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Yeah, I mean, I
Good
played
luck.
guitar for years and years and years before I thought I could even start bands and do all that.
Yeah.
And now I can still pick up a guitar all these years later, and I can get through it no problem. But
And
that's
there's
because of all the
so many
repetitions.
aspects to, not only beekeeping, but the beekeeping business that you only get to try that one. I only get to try, say, formic acid in the spring
Right.
once, right? I get to try oxalic acid in the fall once. And
Yeah.
so all of these little tiny aspects of this, I get to only try these once or maybe twice if I'm lucky each year. And there's hundreds and hundreds of them. And I have to remember and try to take notes. Maybe I'm not a very good note taker. I kind of call it seat of the pants beekeeping,
Mm-hmm.
but you do what you can. So that's the challenge, but that's what makes it interesting too. There's so many moving parts
Mhm.
to take care of, and I think that's what really intrigues most of us, is that almost infinitely moving target of these
That's right.
bees and the things that are trying to kill them all the time.
Brad, we're gonna have
Absolutely.
to have you back on because I love that train of thought. That's exactly, there's something about these bugs in the box that no matter what we do, we are always, whether we accept it or not, are looking to master is a strong word, but get very fluent enough with something and have enough repetitions that the outcome is, I even dare say, semi predictable. And with beekeeping, that just doesn't ever seem to be the case. But here we are trying to
Yeah.
dig in and figure it out and trying to replicate something and get a similar result. And we find year after year that the only constant is change. And I think that's what brings a lot of us right back to this thing.
People say it all the time, and you know very well that all of you and everybody in the chat here and watching, you know very well that in beekeeping, it's very very true that every time you answer a question, man, you've got 100 more, and so the questions do not get fewer; they only grow, and you just keep on that path of wonderment with these magnetic little bugs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Brad, thanks for spending time with us. We're definitely going to have you on, and we can just talk more about all these things. But thanks for taking time to share with us about the frozen north. It was great to round the evening out with a Canadian friend like yourself. So thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll look forward to seeing more of you on down the road.
Thanks, guys. Well, good night.
But
Thanks,
I'll
Brad.
see
We'll
you.
see you. What a great
Man.
guy. There's so many great folks here.
Mhm.
It's amazing when we think about when we started the stream team off, it's been a couple years now. We've had so many repetitions of doing all these different things and trying to make sure the mic is unmuted and that this screen does this, and then we try to. But one thing that still is so rewarding and humbling is there are so many great people to have conversations with, so many great people to learn from. And if anything, if we just share in the fact that we don't have any of this figured out, that we're trying our best, it's a lot of fun. And I think that's why we look to things like a spring forecast or a flow forecast, is to try to try to gain some kind of information from it, so we can try to put the best plan and best strategy together. I don't think a single one of us are riding on the farmer's almanac to do this and do that. But it's a lot of fun to be able to tune in with folks all across the country just to see where are you right now. And fellas, Brian, what's been some of your thoughts after hearing from folks all across the country? What were you expecting? What did you hear? And more importantly, what did you learn?
Basically, what I learned is just you got to be on your toes and you got to be ready, and that's more or less what I've seen in the last few years here. Is just Mother Nature is just wild, and she will keep you on your toes. You know, when you think that you can rest throughout the winter, wrong. You just got to make sure that you are on your toes because the weather is going to change, and you've got to be ready. And if you're reacting to situations, it's probably not going to turn out how you want it to.
Mm.
So it's best just to be proactive. Yeah.
You know what, Brian, so Bruce has intentional beekeeping. I think Brian, a list of your speaking theme, proactive beekeeping with
I actually
Brian
spoke about that.
Mattel Cooper.
I like it.
What about you, Bruce? After hearing everybody and kind of learning where they're at and what they're doing, what did you think that you would hear? What did you hear? And what did you learn about where spring is across the country?
Very interesting chat. And of all the things, I wasn't really surprised with what anybody said, except I was a little surprised with Colorado and how it wasn't much colder than St. Louis. I know Missouri can get very bitter cold at times, but I didn't realize it was as inconsistent as it is. But especially Colorado, I thought they would be more like Brad. you know, just in that freeze up there. So that was very interesting to hear. But just what I learned is that it's, you know, we always talk about how regional beekeeping is. And, you know, it's interesting on my channel. Sometimes I'll have people saying, why are you breaking into hives? It's too early. And I'll be like, well, this is Alabama. You're probably from up north. It's so regional. It's so different. And even within the same state, even within the same county, it can be different sometimes. And so you just have to realize that the principle, you know, what I always say is the principles of beekeeping are the same as far as you've got a queen, you've got workers, you got drones. The basics, you know, the basic biology of bees is basically the same, but there's so many variables, and so you can't. It's good to watch YouTube, it's good to read books, but you just have to get in the bees and learn your bees and learn what happens in your area in each bee yard, each place. And so, and as you get more experience going through winters, you begin to be able to maybe roll with the punches a little better sometimes. And sometimes Mother Nature still throws you a big punch in the gut, like what's happened to me up in Ozark this year. I've just never experienced this before with these beetles. And so it's just a brand new thing for me, you know. And so it's just, you just never know what to expect, but just try to be prepared and do the best you can. But, you know, what I've learned about, like I said tonight, is that it just is regional. And it's best if you want to learn how to manage winter and spring in your area, you should kind of talk to people who are successful in keeping bees in your area. Is probably the best way to do that, I believe.
Yeah, that's the main reason I like to have these thought exercises and try to learn from other folks is not so much, nothing that we do is on a calendar basis. But a lot of it is based on the signs that and indicators that we see in nature, especially here in Ohio. Brian, what I've kind of learned is I'm just I'm not as smart as everybody else, or our state is just one of the worst for roller coaster rides, because it seems like everyone is saying, no, we're about on par for last year. Last year it was abnormal, wasn't average. But it feels like when we get into this Ohio Valley area of the country, this part of the Midwest, it seems as though we are not far enough north to be up in that colder, true winter. We're not far enough south where we're getting the benefit of early spring. We're somewhere right in between, and we're catching the it's too warm here. So when those fronts come through, we're getting what would be snow up north. We're getting it as rain here. And then the same thing seems to be happening going the other wise, where the south seems to be a little cooler, and then we're on the warm side of these fronts, on the other end of them, and it's creating more rain. So the buffer, we're what seems to be average or normal now is warmer, wetter climate here, in at least in our neck of the woods, and that's a real problem as we try to figure out what to do, when to do, how to do it. And so we're looking to nature as the indicator, as okay, where are we at? You know, when spring happens, it just doesn't say, okay, well, it's March, whatever, that's officially spring. It's a sequence of events that all stack up, and that leads us to soil temperatures reaching what they do, flowers doing what they do, feeding the insects doing what they do. And we hear all these things here at home. Last week, we saw the Canadian geese fly north, and I said, oh my gosh, that is the earliest I've ever seen it.
Yep.
And it was no sooner than did I see that, the next day, I saw robins out on the back porch. And when we see robins that close and that hungry and they're out and they're eating, the weather is broke. When we see the geese fly or going back north, the weather's broke. The grass is starting to green up nearly just about everywhere, which is very early, it seems. The other thing, the main thing that was really alarming and which really got my mental gears turning, which was the reason why I put this spring forecast show together, the maple buds are thickening quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking out at the heads of these trees, and I'm seeing all the texture of the buds. And it is weeks earlier than what it was last year.
Yep.
And I'm not just talking about a small maple who just got a little extra. I'm talking about, if you've ever been here to the farm, when you pull in, especially the giant one on the left as you are pulling in, and you look down the hill around all the pond where that is all maples, all of them are thickening and the texture is intensifying. And I'm thinking, I didn't see that last year this early. It seems like it was February 14th, and I noticed, okay, what is going on with the buds? Something's going on here. It seems like we're 2 weeks earlier. The next thing that I'll look for is we'll start to hear spring peepers. We'll hear that. Old timers used to say 3 snows after the forsythia blooms here, but every single year, man, we are struggling to we're almost pretending we're seeing. We see a little flurry, a last light flurry here, or a light flurry there, and we get 3 of those, and we say, okay, that was the 3rd snow.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the forsythia blooming is definitely an important one. But anymore, the forsythia, when it blooms, our season has really already kicked on. It's even earlier now than redbud. Dandelions are kind of mixed in between. It's just so wonky and wild.
What I've seen exceptionally odd this year is we have a maple out in the yard that's got buds on it in January. And then also when I walk the pup out at nighttime, I always take a flashlight just because we got bad coyote problem around my area now, and we've got skunks, so I don't want to get sprayed and stuff like that. But recently when I've been walking, now this is ending of January, and this even started middle of January, when I walk out at the nighttime with the pup, I'm seeing night crawlers.
Oh my gosh.
I'm serious. I go down by the field and there's literally hundreds of them as I walk. And I'm like, why are there night crawlers out in January? The ground should be frozen, So I think this year in Ohio, we're going to have a huge surprise. I do.
I want to share this because it's not that we're always looking to it's not that we want to be the first to know. It's we want to know as soon as we are getting these signs from nature so we can plan accordingly. And we're not the gambling type. We're not going all in and saying, okay, time to go make all the splits or go get all the nukes we're looking for all these sequences to stack. And one of the ones definitely is maple blooming. And Tennessee Tim down in Colioca, just south of Nashville, he's really only about 14 days ahead of us. For the several years I've known Tim, as goofy as our weather has been and his weather has been, they've really only been about 2 weeks ahead of us or so. Maybe a hair more. And what Tim says here is the maples are about to bloom in his neck of the woods. That's fast forward 2 weeks, that puts us Valentine's Day from right now.
And then we're usually 2 weeks after you.
Wow.
Just so if we're looking at beginning of March, that's probably the earliest that I will ever see it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, as the stream team chats kind of continue for the rest of this first part of the year, I got a feeling we're going to be into the thick of what we're doing, and it may be a little earlier than typical, which is going to be interesting to kind of sort through. Half of you is excited about spring ushering in a hair early, but the other half of you is afraid to death, because when things come early and you start to put things in motion, sometimes those are the years that if it goes great, you end up having something like a tremendous bumper crop of black locust honey. But if it goes wrong, all of your flow is stunted by freezes. The bees have wasted an exorbitant amount of energy to brood for all that to get slowed down. And then the worst thing, and we got hit with this last year, was the rain. The rain during mating flights was tremendous, and it was horrible, and it was crippling. Honor Mountain writes in, the next 2 weeks in southeast Ohio calls for daytime highs in the 41 to 57. That's Fahrenheit, and moderate nighttime lows, tracking toward a very early spring. But we'll see. Honor Mountain, I'm with you. I got a feeling you're going to be hearing spring peepers before you would expect to. That's just one thing that we kind of seem to hear. Bohemia Bees writes, "You're going to give me nightmares." I am not a fear monger, but however, it is the sound, the call when the things are stacking up and you're starting to get the feeling, the call that we're putting out is, hey, don't get caught by the short hairs. Be prepared. And if you start to see these things, here are some things that you can do. And I love what Brad talked about, and we'll get into that too. But it never hurts to put some dry pollen stuff out to see what the bees are doing. And then when they're eating on it, and then all of a sudden when they stop and they could care less, well, they're getting the goodies from somewhere else. Where's that coming from? And that can be another indicator for the season. So, well, we want to thank everyone for spending time with us tonight here on the Nature's Image Farm YouTube, the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. We have taken a trip all across the country, California, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Colorado, and Canada. And listen back if you're just tuning in. My big takeaway is buckle up, folks. It's going to be another roller coaster spring, and it's be as proactive as you can. It's going to be the type of season where you don't want to be in the reactive chair driving, because it is really hard sometimes. But at the end of the day, spring is going to do what she will do. All we can do is try to read the signs, make good calls, and try to put our best foot forward based on our experience and the wisdom that we've gleaned from all of that too. So it'll be exciting to see how things roll out for the rest of the year. Bruce, what's coming up for Bruce's Bees this coming week?
Just going to try to check on them again. If hopefully we have some good weather coming up, so I'll be able maybe to spend a couple of days in the bees, and I just go check on them, see how full the hives actually are. They look full from the top, make sure they're full all the way through, maybe add some boxes and on some of them, and maybe they'll start spreading up into those boxes, make sure they got good weight. Just double check the ones up in Ozark, possibly move some of those out to better areas, maybe give them a little boost. And just this game on, I actually have some queens. I found some mated queens. I'm going to try to do some splits early so I can recover some of the losses that I've had this winter. And then I hope to be able to graft and make a few queens a little bit later in the spring when I'm more confident with the ability for them to get mated. Because once again, here with the weather, it can be cold or it can be rainy, and those mating flights can be destroyed, if you try and graft too early. So I'd like to give my bees the best chance to have success if I do some grafts, especially since I've tried it a time or two in the past, but never really given it a whole lot of effort. So this year I'm pretty serious about it. So I'm going to pick out, probably 2 or 3 colonies to try and pull some grafts from. And some of my upcoming videos, I'm hoping to be able to show you kind of what my thought process is with that, and some of the ones I'm going to pick. And that's kind of where I'm at. And then it's kind of like get on the train. It's just moving forward. There's no, the bees don't wait for you. They're going to do what they're going to do. And either you're going to take care of them and help manage their space and keep them in the hives the best you can, or they're going to be in the trees. That's just how it works. And so we're at that point to where, I've heard of some swarms around here already, at least a couple, 1 or 2. But I think we're knocking on the door of having just a crazy swarmy season starting here very soon if I don't get on top of this thing.
Wow. Brian, Bruce is over here talking about swarms getting ready to cut loose anytime. And, here we are in Ohio, just jealous as always of the Dauphin Shogun. Yeah. Brian, what's coming up for you in Castle Hives this coming week?
I tell you, this weekend we're going to have Sunday. It's going to be 50 and sunny. So I probably will go over, and as much as what it pains me to say that I'll do this, but I might peek just to see, if I can catch a glimpse of cluster sizes and things like that. We'll see. I mean, I've got that new little camera that I can also get in there and look, but a lot though too by the front of the boxes. I'll be able to tell, but I know I'm going to have to stay on top of their feed. Just this weather is so crazy, and I know we're going to have at least, I would imagine it's probably going to be 5 or 6 weeks at least before we have anything out there if it's super early. So this is just going to be such a critical time. And we normally say like March is where you lose a lot. Well, that may have moved forward into February now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Not bad though. If you stay on top of it, it won't be bad. But that's what I want to do. I just want to stay on top of things and make sure that I'm ready when Mother Nature says, "Hey, it's go time."
That's about all you can do, Brian. Is just when she says go. All right, here. Let's give it our best shot,
Yeah.
fellas. Whose channel is it on next week?
No,
Is
no,
it?
it's you, Brian.
It's mine.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know where. Mine.
Well, tune in next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, to the Castle Hives YouTube channel for the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. Before we go, I want to say thank you to everyone who sent in super chats tonight. EL, thank you for your super sticker. Ripple Effect, where to get Locust 10 frame deep supers. Boy, hopefully in Ohio. Hopefully here in Ohio this year, we'll be pulling supers of black locust honey. We'll see. But Ripple Effect, thank you for your super chat. Tyler Mitchell from Ohio, I believe. Tyler, thanks for listening, everything that you do, and thanks for your super chat there. Sleepy Holler Homestead, thank you for your super chat. I've got a great little video that we took with Sleepy Holler Homestead on a great little frame jig that they build. So keep an eye out for that coming out later on. Was a great time that we spent with them. Two bee brats, honey in Northeast Pennsylvania. Question for Greg: when was the earliest for grafting? It's typically it sort of follows the Easter season. Of course, that's a moving target. Second week in April, third week in April, when we've got mature drones running around and lots of them, is when we get started. We don't try to push it too early. It's a wasted effort. It seems like the return's just not worth the investment. So historically, here in our neck of the woods, second, third week in April is about the earliest we can get started. But that's all, of course, weather dependent. And our big shout out and thank you to Big B Lee. Brian Lee, thank you for your $20 super chat. Enjoying the stream team tonight from Auburn, Alabama.
Brian was at an Auburn basketball game watching the chat. He sent me
Oh,
sent us a
wow.
picture of him. You got it, Greg, on your phone, of him actually at the game watching the chat. So that was kind of funny.
Let's see
he
here.
said he was getting some odd looks.
Let's put him on the spot here. Let's see. Oh, look at this. Is hilarious. Let's see if we can.
There he is.
There's a picture of a picture of a picture. Isn't that cool?
Him holding up the chat. That was when Brad was on.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
That's great.
Thanks, Brian. Well, we appreciate everyone for spending time with us tonight. We really do appreciate you. Let's keep the conversation going. If you're listening later, send us a comment. Put in your state and what you're seeing right now, and we're gonna enjoy take a look at all those comments and responding, and just kind of see where are you. Make sure to put your state so everyone who reads the comments can go back. It'll be a lot of fun to cruise through and see. Put what state you're in, and if you feel like spring is early, on time, or late. It'd be a lot of fun to kind of cruise back through and check all those out. We really just want to say thank you. We really appreciate you guys. If you're interested in package bees, the first route is sold out. The first offering of the second route is sold out. We have the third route still available. You can go to our website at naturesimagefarm.com. You can take a look at our packages, nukes and queens, and be on the lookout very soon for the EnduraHive wax dipped to be released on our website. We've been busy building boxes and dipping. Really looking forward to getting those out on the website and shipping those across the country too. So if you're interested in EnduraHive wax dipped beekeeping equipment, we'd love for you to keep us in mind at naturesimagefarm.com. I want to say thanks for everyone spending time with us, tuning in, sharing a little bit of your beekeeping journey all across the country. Like the honeybee is to the hive, we're better together. And so always a lot of fun when we can do this thing with friends. Next week, the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat on the Castle Hives YouTube channel, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. And until next time, we want to remind you to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.